Good evening. In previous session, we have seen the concept of default arguments. So in today's session, we are going to see about next type of arguments, that is arbitrary arguments, or we can say it as a variable length arguments. So in previous session, we have seen three different type of arguments. One is positional arguments, second one is keyword arguments, and third one is we have considered what? That is default arguments. Okay. So now we are going to see about fourth one, that is arbitrary. There is nothing but we can consider it as arbitrary arguments, which is nothing but we can also call it as what? Varargs, or we can consider it as a variable length arguments. Okay, right. So now till now what we have seen, if we are going to have a function with one argument, so here some statements are there. If I want to call this function, how many arguments I have to pass? I have to pass one argument. So compulsory here, one argument should be passed here. Next, if I'm going to consider a function with two arguments, how many arguments has to be passed? Two arguments has to be passed. If some default values are there here, some a equal to 10, b equal to 20, for example. So here in this case, what happens if you call that function without any parameters? There it is going to be it will take what? Default values by default. That means what? If you are not passing, also some values are there, so that it is going to consider. If you pass some values to that, some 30, 40, these values are going to be stored in a and b. Anyway, if you are passing the values, or if you are not going to pass the values here in this case, what happens? Some values are there in a and b, but now the concept is different. That is what? Variable length arguments. Variable length arguments is nothing but if I am going to take only one variable, I can pass to it 0 arguments, 1 argument, 2 arguments, 3 arguments, 4 arguments, 5 arguments, and so on. N number of arguments I can pass to this particular variable. Now see here in this case, how many parameters are there here? Only one parameter is there, so that I have to pass only one argument to this one. If I try to pass two arguments to this function, what happens? It will say as that only one argument will be received, and this one is treated as what? Error. Second value will be treated as what? Error. Now the concept is here I will consider only one variable, but I will pass different type of arguments. That means what? First I will pass 0 argument, next I will pass one argument, next I will pass two arguments, 3 arguments, 4 arguments, 5 arguments. But the variable which I have written here has to receive that. So if it is receiving the any type of parameters, then that type of arguments or parameters is called as what? Variable length arguments, or we can call it as what? Arbitrary arguments. So now how to represent this Varargs? So directly I will say Varargs only, because arbitrary is the official name, but generally used name is Varargs, or variable length arguments. Right? How to represent it? So generally what we are going to write, define a function name. Here function name I am going to write. Inside I am going to write a parameters. So to indicate the argument type as a vararg type, we have to give star, and we have to write the variable name. So the star indicates, here star indicates what? It has a variable arguments. Very important point. If I write in this way, any function is written in this way. For this, how many arguments can be taken? It can take 0 arguments, 1 argument, 2 arguments, and so on. N number of arguments can be taken here. Reason is this indicates vararg arguments. That means it can take different types of arguments, different number of arguments. So I can say that arguments as what? Variable arguments. Variable means what? Different. So different number of arguments can be taken. Okay, right. So let us see one small example so that you will get a clarity on this one. So I will take one small example. So see here, just I am going to define a function. In this function I am going to take one variable that is of type vararg type, and I am going to write only one statement, that is variable arguments. variable arguments. Okay. So now observe here, I will call this function by using 0 parameters, 1 parameter, 2 parameters, and different type of arguments also. Let's call this function empty parameters I'm going to call. And next I'm going to call function with 1 parameter. And we are going to call the same function with 2 parameters. Okay, I'm going to call it with some 4 or 5 parameters. I'm going to call it some 10 comma 20 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5, for example. Now I'm going to call with a different type, that is I will take some string here. Okay, right. Now you can observe here, but generally what we can understand without knowing the concept of these where are the parameters, if I take this type of example, what you will understand, that is, so here you are passing some 0 arguments, so that there should be some function with 0 arguments, but there is no 0 argument. Then you will think what it has a error. Here I am passing 1 argument, so that here one argument is there, so it will take that argument. Next 10 20 is there, you may think what, here 2 parameters are there, but there is no 2 parameter function here. So you may think that there is an error in this case, and in this case. But here we will not get any error in this program. Reason is what, the variable what I considered here is what, is a variable argument, sorry, variable length argument. So let us see this program. What happens, how many times it is going to call here? 1 minute. How many times the function is going to be called here? I am calling 4 times, sorry, 5 times. 1 2 3 4 5. So if I call 5 times, whether it is going to be called or not, yes, it will be called. If it calls 5 times, it is going to print what, variable argument once, first time, second time, third time, fourth time, and fifth time. So let us see whether it is going to be executed or not. Right, see here. So how many times it is going to print the variable arguments? 5 times it has been printed here. 1 2 3 4 5. That means here when I call with empty parameters also, this variable length argument is going to take 0 parameters here, no problem. Here 10, that means 1 argument is going to be taken. Here 2 arguments is going to be taken. Here 5 arguments. Here 1 argument of string type. So here any number of parameters can be taken by the variable length arguments. Okay, now the concept is, so okay, anyway I am going to take what can I say, variable length arguments, so we can understand about that. Now if I print n, what will be printed, that is the concept. Okay, let us print n here. So if I print n, what all the things will be printed? First one, function, I am calling this one, so I am passing nothing here. So if I pass nothing, what will be there here? Nothing will be there. Next here I am passing what, 10. So if I pass 10, n will contain what, 10. If I pass 10 comma 20, n has to contain what, 10 comma 20. If I pass 10 20 3 4 5, it has to be present in n. That means what, n is going to take variable length of arguments. That means what, multiple values also it can take. If it can take multiple values, it has to return multiple values when I ask it. Okay, here in second case I am going to consider, in this case 10 comma 20 case I am going to consider, n is going to take how many values? It is going to take 2 values. One is 10, another one is 20. Okay, now if I print n, how many values has to return by that n? It has to return 2 values. So if it is going to return 2 values, it is nothing but a group of values. If we are going to consider a group of values, then I have to go for what? Either list, either tuple, either dictionary, either set, or either frozen set, bytes, and all these concepts we have to go. Now the concept what I want to tell is, it is going to return which type. Let us see after executing, so that you can understand directly. So see what it is going to print. First it is going to print what? Empty brackets is there, that is parenthesis is there. Next one is what? One value it is going to print. Next 2 values, next 5 values, next 1 value is printed. But here, is it a square brackets? Is it a flower brackets? No, it is what? Parenthesis. That means what? It is nothing but we can consider it as a what? It is a tuple. Okay, right. So our variable length arguments is going to return which type? It is going to return tuple type. So the return type is what? Tuple. So we have observed that one, right? Next, let us see one more example for this one. So here I'm going to take, I want to print every number, that is whatever the value that is present inside n, I want to print individually. Here what I have done, I have called, so I have printed, first one is what, first time call, second call, third call, fourth call, and fifth call in the form of tuples. If I want to print individually the numbers, what I have to do, I have to write some for loop. So just I will take only one calling. So here I want to print what? I want to print every value that is present inside a n. For I in n, I want to print every value. So just what happens, I will print, if I print I, all the values are going to be printed. Now observe here, 10, 20, 3, 4, 5 are printed separately. Okay. Now with the same program, I want to find the values of all these. For example, I'm passing these values to this function. Let us take, I will change this function name as sum. That means I want to find sum of all the numbers that is going to be received by the sum. So here I'm calling what, sum function. That means the sum function is going to return how many parameters here? It is going to receive 5 parameters. It has to add all those values which is going to be received by function, and it has to print. Okay, right. Now see, this is first case. I want to call sum of, only I want to pass 2 parameters, 20 comma 10. Let us see what happens here. So I want to perform what here? I want to perform sum of the values. So there is some formula is there, that is nothing but some sum equal to sum plus, here I will take some I. So just I want to specify sum equal to 0 here, initialize sum equal to 0. Now what happens, it is going to perform the operation, that is sum operation. So see, so I'm going to print the sum also here, sum. So if I print sum, the value is going to be stored in where? SUM, sum it is going to store, right? Okay, this should not be inside a for loop, it has to be outside of the for loop, right? Now observe the case. What happens, first time it is going to perform addition between 5 numbers, that is 10, 20, 3, 4, 5. Next it is going to perform addition between 20 comma 30, 2 numbers. So first answer is what, 42, second answer is 30. If I pass any value to this function, see, sum of, I want to pass some 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6, so on. If you want to pass n number of values also, no problem, it is going to perform, see, addition. So we are going to get what, 55, right? Let us, I will try with a some other values, like I want to pass strings to this one, comma 2 arguments I want to pass as strings. Now let us see what happens here. So what happens here, unsupported operand type for plus, because intent string is going to be added. So here it is going to have some intent string, so it is going to give me what, an error. Okay, right. So this is about a small example for our variable arguments. Now let us consider positional arguments and variable arguments in the same function. That means here in this case, I want to take both positional arguments and also variable arguments. Let us consider here name. I want to consider name comma, I want to print star n. Just here I want to change it as a, just I want to remove all these things. Just I want to do only 2 things. One is printing the name and printing the en, whatever the things that are present inside a en. So I will write separately here. Now I will print what, en. Now see, just I will call this one as a sum, and I will pass different values. So one thing we have to observe here, first one is what, it is a positional argument, it is not a keyword argument, it is not a default. Okay, I am going to consider it as what, it has a positional argument. So I will pass the values. Let us see what happens if I pass the values to this one. Just I will pass Shiva and n value as 10, for example. So first I will take only one case, later I will go to different cases. Now observe the output of this one. So it is going to give you what, it is going to give you Shiva and output as 10. So it is printing in a second line, no problem. So first, that means what, Shiva is passed into, it is position is what, Position is 1. And what is the position of this one? Name 1. So that it is passed to this one. And this 10 is passed to where? Star n. Okay. So there is no problem here. Now I will pass two arguments. Just I will change the name. Okay. Just I will take it as a function, func. Right. Now let us pass two integer values. Let us pass two integer values here. 10, 20. So now let us see what happens. So what is going to be 10 and 20 is printed, no problem. If I pass any type of values, but I have passed what? Only two parameters, then no problem here. Now I am going to pass three arguments. Function of, I will pass some RAM, 10, 20. So just I will remove these two. Right. Now observe what will be the output. So what is the output we are going to get? First variable, first argument is going to be taken in name, so that it is printed separately, and second and third are going to be considered inside a n. Right. Now this is a case, but when we are going to take this positional argument, it should be the first only. That means if I take this one here, then what happens? Let us see. So if I execute this one, observe the error here. Function missing one required keyword only. That is what? One keyword only or RAM. Where it is going to pass? It is going to pass to n. If I pass 10, it's going to pass to n. What about 20? It is passing to n only. Then what about name? What happens for name? So that if we pass n number of arguments, it is going to be taken by n only. Okay. So what about this name? This name is having some positional argument. I have to pass. If I am going to define that parameter inside a function, I have to pass some parameter when I'm calling it. If it is a positional argument, if it is some default argument, no problem, because already some value is provided to that. But here the value is not provided for that. So we are going to get what? An error. So compulsory, if you are going to write positional arguments with variable length arguments, then what should be happen? Compulsory, the positional argument should be before the variable length argument. If you are going to write in this way, as we have seen now, we are going to get what? We are going to get an error, because the value will not be passed to this name. So there is okay, no problem here. If I consider positional arguments, there is a problem. But if I consider what can I say, keyword arguments, if I call in this way, let us see is there any problem or not. So here there is another problem, not the same problem, it is another problem. That is what? If you are going to have keyword argument in your calling, then compulsory positional argument should be before that. Okay, let us see that one. That means what? This should not be here. This value should not be here. It has to be before this one. Now will there be any problem here? No problem. Reason is 10 and 20 is going to be passed to n. You may think that name will also pass to n only, but here I am specifying what? I am specifying a particular keyword, that is what? Name. So this argument will be passed to this name only. So with a position argument there is a problem for us, but there is no problem with the keyword argument. We can use that. So if we pass in this way, we are going to get what? We are going to get an correct output. So these rules has to be remembered. So now no problem, we are going to get the correct output. When there is a problem here, 2 points we have to observe. Those 2 points are what? First point is, if we are going to write variable length argument and positional argument, or we can say positional argument in the same function, then what is the rule? Compulsory, when we are calling that function, first positional argument should be there, and next only remaining variable argument should be there. But if you are going to write, for example, star name is there, comma p is there. If I am going to write in this way, if I pass 10, 20, 30, it is going to pass to where? Name only. Then what about this p? The value for p is not going to be passed. So if we want to pass only positional argument, then compulsory here what should be there? This P has to be this side only. P comma star name should be there. Okay. Next case, if it is the case, is there any alternative to pass the arguments to this one? Yes, there is an alternative. That is, while calling this function, what I have to call? Function of, let us go, this is name function. While calling it, what happens? I have to call it as a 10, 20, 30. These 10, 20, 30 are going to pass to where? N. What about this P? I have to specify with keyword argument. Now, if I pass 40 here, what happens? 10, 20, 30 will go to name and 40 will go to this P. So these two rules should be noted. Okay, right. Now let us see in detail about this keyword. Already we have seen about keyword argument. Now already we know what is known by keyword arguments. Previous type is what we have seen, keyword arguments only. Now with this variable length arguments, if it is there, what happens? We have seen now. Okay. Now next case. Next we are going to see about variable length arguments only, but with keyword. That means if I am having a keyword variable length arguments, how it has to be done? Variable length variable. What we are going to consider? Arguments. Keyword variable length arguments. Till now, what we have seen in this example? This is an example that shows us what? This star n is what? Is going to take only the values directly. But now the case is, if I want to take keyword arguments, that is nothing but if I want to take keyword arguments of variable length, then how I have to represent it. So for representing that one, I am going to have a small one more star I am going to add to that one for a parameter. So let us take here, define some function. If I write in this way, it indicates keyword variable length arguments. So just by seeing the example, you can understand. But before going to see the example, you have to understand 2 points. That is what? To represent keyword variable length arguments, I have to write what? 2 star symbols to that variable. Now, second point is, in previous example, we have seen what? If I'm going to consider normal variable length arguments, it is going to return what? It's going to return tuple type. Here, if I'm going to consider keyword variable length arguments, it is going to return dictionary. This is what? Dictionary. It is going to return dictionary. That means what? It is going to have key value pairs. So based on that, we can use those key value pairs. Now I will show the concept of this keyword variable length arguments with a small example. So if you observe this one carefully, we can understand. Just I will take the name of the function as func only. Here I want to take some variables. So which type of variables I have to take here? I am talking about what? Keyword variable length argument. So here just I want to write star star. Star star indicates what? Keyword variable length arguments. Now just I want to print those things, whatever I am passing here. Okay. So to print that one, just before that I will print details here. Just I want to print the details. So here, first I will write just what I want to call to this function. I will write first I want to pass something. That something is nothing but I want to pass my name and I want to pass my marks equal to 100. I want to pass comma. I want to pass my age. This is first person. Age is 31, for example. Now, how many arguments are going to be passed here? 3 arguments are going to be passed. To whom? Function. So it should receive that, because what is this representation? This representation indicates this n is what? It can receive any number of keyword arguments. So now I am sending what? 3. So that it has to receive what? 3. Okay. Next call, I am going to send 2 only. Some function of name equal to ram. I don't want to send marks and age. I want to send some other thing like address. I want to send some address. Here address is, for example, I'm going to take Hyderabad. So now the thing is what? Now n is going to take what? N is going to take only 2 keyword arguments. Now first case what happens? It has taken 3, because if I write star star n, it indicates what? It can receive any number of keyword arguments. So now okay, it has received something. Just I want to print how it is going to just I want to show you how the values are going to be printed. So all values are going to be stored in where? N. So n is going to return which type? It is going to return dictionary type. So I want to print that values in the dictionary. So for that I am going to use some for loop. So for, if it is a dictionary, I have to write what? Key and value. Though not only K and V, we can write anything, but just to represent key and value, I am going to write K, comma V. In, where are the values we are having? We are having the values in N. We are having values in N. In that, I have to take items. In item is what? Both key and value is going to be retrieved. So first value is going to be, first key is going to be stored in K, and value is going to be stored in V. Now by using that, I am going to print of, just I want to print K and V, values of K and V. In between, just I will write some arrow mark, right, and V. Okay. So now see what happens first time. First time what happens? First time it is going to print Shiva, name Shiva, marks 100, and next one age is 31. In second case what happens? It is going to take only 2 arguments. So first it is going to print name, Ram, address, Hyderabad. So let us execute this one. So observe the case. What happens? First details has been printed what? 3 arguments it has taken, and it is going to print. Second time how many arguments it is going to take? 2 arguments, and it is going to print that. So here by seeing this example, you can understand that if you want to send variable length of keyword arguments, then I have to use the syntax that double star has to be taken for that variable. Okay. So this is about variable length arguments. Okay. Next one, let us see about small example. Till now whatever we have discussed about the arguments, just I will take a small example and I will show different cases. So whatever the important points I have discussed regarding our arguments, those all points will be repeated once again here, so that you can briefly see those points. Now just I am going to write define some function. In this I am taking some 5 arguments. I am going to take some d equal to some value, I will take default value, I will take, and some e equal to, I will take some 20 also. Okay, here up to here I am going to consider, otherwise let us take only 4 arguments. Okay, now in this I will write the values to be printed, that is a comma b comma c comma d. First case what I am going to consider is, if I am going to call this function with only 2 arguments, what will be the output? The output will be what? The output will be 10. Okay, here this one also I will take as some default argument. Okay, now see, if I execute this program, 2 positional arguments are there in my function. So compulsory 2 arguments has to be passed here. Compulsory for A and B you have to pass. If you don't want to pass to C and D also, no problem, because these are default arguments. So by default it will take the values, but compulsory we have to pass 2 values to this A and B. So 10 is going to be passed to A, 20 is going to be passed to B. What about C and D? I have not passed any arguments here. So by default there is some values to that, so that those values are going to be considered. Now observe that. So what happens? 10, 20, 10, 20 are printed. Why 10, 20, 10, 20 are printed? I have passed 10, 20 and default values are also 10, 20. Just I will change this one as 30 and 40, so that you will get a clarity on this one. So A value will be 30, B value will be 40, C value will be 10, and D value will be 20. See, 30, 40 and 10 and 20 is going to be printed. Now if I take 4 arguments, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now what will be the output of this program? First value, so as these 2 are positional arguments, it will go to A, it will go to B, it will pass it to B. Now what about this C? By default 10 is there, but I am passing some argument, so that it will consider this 50 only. C is going to consider 50 only. Next, D is having some default argument, but I am passing some value. So the D value is going to be considered as what? 60 only. What will be the output of this program? 30, 40, 50, 60. That is 30, 40, 50, 60 are going to be printed, right? Next case, I want to pass one keyword argument also. So here D equal to 60 I want to pass, and I want to pass only 3 arguments. Now what will be the output? So for A, no problem, 30 is going to be passed. For B, no problem, 40 is going to be passed. For C, I am not going to pass anything, no problem, because C is already having some default value. That default value is going to be considered. What about D? Already default value 20 is there, but by using the concept of keyword arguments, I am passing the D value as 60. Will there be any problem? There will be no problem. The answer will be 30, 40, 10 and 60. 30, 40, 10 and 60. Okay. Next case, I want to consider all as default keyword arguments. Let us take D equal to some 60, and for A and B also I want to take. If I am going to take, for example, keyword arguments, is there any need of keeping in order? No need. We can place it anywhere. B equal to, I will take some 40. So see, now what happens? First it will come to A, the value will be passed to D, and next for A 30 is passed, for B 40 is passed. So whenever we are going to have only keyword arguments in your function calling, then there is no need of seeing the order of that parameters. There will be no problem. Directly the values will be sent to those keywords only. That means here D is a keyword, so it will pass it to this D only. A is a keyword, it will pass it to A. B is there, it will pass it to B only. There will be no problem if you are having keyword arguments. So now what is the what is going to printed? A is 30, B is 40, C I have not taken, so that C will be 10, and D will be what? 60 is going to be printed, right? So this is the output of the program. Now let us take one more case here. If I am going to call an empty, if I am going to call empty function, now observe one thing here. There will be no problem for C and D because already some values are provided as a default values. What about A and B? For A and B, compulsory we have to provide some values. If you don't want to provide for C and D, no problem, because default values are there. What about A and B? So that it will give you what? An error saying what? Function missing 2 required positional arguments. You are calling FUNC. If you are calling FUNC function, compulsory 2 positional arguments are there. If you want to call this function, at least you have to pass 2 values to this A comma B, so that it is going to stop you. Okay, this is the first type of error you can encounter when you are going to if you are not passing the arguments to the positional arguments. Next one, I want to pass C value as some 60 and D value as some 70, and I want to pass some 2 arguments, that is nothing but 10 comma, so 30 comma 40, 30 comma 40. Now what I think is, here as I passing C value here, it will go here, D value 70, so that it will go to this D value. Next, what about this A and B? Okay, A value will be 30, B value will be 40. I think so. I will think in that way, but is it correct? It is not correct. Reason is, I want to show it here because it will give you clear explanation about that. So just I will execute that case here. So here I am going to consider the program name, that is ex.py. So see the output, what you can encounter here. Positional argument follows keyword argument. Now we have to remember that point. What is that point? If you are having positional arguments and keyword arguments in your function calling, compulsory positional argument should be first, and next only we should have some keyword arguments. So here what we have done, keyword arguments has been taken first, and later I have taken positional arguments. So it is wrong. So that if I take these values after to these positional arguments, will there be any problem? There will be no problem. We will get the output, no problem here. But now some people may have doubt that Sir, if I take in between, so if I take this value 40, here I will, let's see, here I will take this one. So anyway, the rule is what? Compulsory, if you are going to write the combination of keyword arguments and positional arguments, it should be what? Positional arguments should be before the keyword arguments, but here positional argument is there. Before this one, keyword argument is there. Is it correct? It is not correct. Compulsory, if you are writing positional arguments should be before keyword arguments only. In this case also, we are going to get what? We are going to get a same error. Positional argument follows keyword argument. Okay. So this is the one of the point to be remembered. Next, I will pass one more case. I am going to consider here 50 comma 60 comma. So if I pass 50 comma 16, these values are going to be sent to which values, which parameters? A and B. So remember that A and B. If I execute this one, the output will be fine, no problem, because C and D is having already default values. Now I will pass B equal to 70. Here you have to understand one thing, that already I have passed the value 50 to the A. Next, I am passing 60 to the B. And next, again I am trying to pass 70 to B. Is it correct? It is not correct, because already you have passed. How many times you will pass B value? Okay, let us see that error. What type of error we are going to get? Let us see here. So what type of error? It clearly saying that function got multiple values for argument B. So multiple arguments for a single parameter we should not pass. Only one value should be passed to one parameter. Okay, that means one time. That means here what happens? For B I am passing, again here for B I am passing. Two times I should not pass. If you want to pass once, we can pass it, no problem. Okay, this is one case. Okay, I think I have covered all the cases here. So this is about arguments, the different type of arguments in our Python. Sorry, different function arguments in our Python. So now let us see a small concept which I have not covered it. That is what about local variables and global variables, because I have to see here. Reason is, if I am going to write any variable inside a function, so I will remove all this concept, all these variables. Just I will take here print of A or print of A comma B. Okay, if I call this function, just I will call this function of 10 comma 20. I am going to pass. What will be the output of this program? 10 comma 20 is printed, as these values are passed here, and it is going to be printed. Now here I will not take any values, just it will be empty. So here internally I am going to take the values for A and B. A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. Now what is the answer of this A and B? Again, no problem, we will get answer 10 and 20 only. Reason, A value is 10, B value is 20. Now the concept is, I want to print the values of A and B here. That is print of A comma B. Observe carefully which type of error we are going to get. See here, which type of error? Oh, 1 minute. Right. So see which type of error we are going to get here. Name A is not defined, but you may think that, sir, already A is defined here. But why it is showing error? Reason is, where I have initialized or declared the value of A inside this function, this A belongs to this function. That means this is the function. So A can be accessed only within the function. The variables which are written inside a function, those variables can be accessed only inside the function. Those are called as local variables. So those A and B are local to that function only. So A and B are local to which function? FUNC function. Okay, so we are having two types of variables. Those are, first one is local variable, second one is global variable. So first one is which variable? Local variable, and second one is global variable. Okay. So now let us see small examples for these local variables. That is, here what happens? I have taken local variables a and b. I tried to print that a and b outside. So we are going to get what? Error, as we have seen now. Now the concept is, just here I will take one more function. Just I will take only a. Okay, I will take one more function. And the function, this one, first function I will name it as function1. Second one I will define it as function2. Okay, right. Here I will print a. Now, will there be any problem here? There may be a problem. Let us see. There will be a problem. Let us see what type of problem we are having. So I'm calling function1 and I'm calling function2. So see carefully here. What happens? First it is printed 10. Whenever I'm calling function1, it has been printed 10, no problem. But when I'm calling function2, what happens? Name a is not defined. Where a is inside function2, is there any a? Not there. So if I write a here, a equal to 20. Now observe carefully. A value is present in function1, a value is present in function2. So this a is the value in function1 for a is what? 10. So it is printed. Whenever I'm calling function, it is going to print 10. Whenever I'm going to call function2, a in function2 is what? 20. So it is going to print what? 20 value here. So see, answer will be what? 10 and 20. If I change the order, what happens? First function2 will be executed and next function1 will be executed. So what will be the answer? Answer will be 20 and 10. Okay. So this is about local variables. So now some important points are there to be discussed about global variables. So this is about local variables. So local variables are what? The variables that are written inside the functions. Inside the functions are called as what? Local variables. The scope and lifetime of that variable is within that function only. That means, for example, here I am going to consider first function1 I am going to consider here. So whenever I am calling, okay, here, okay, function I am calling. Whenever I am calling this function, then what happens? Then only here we are having a. That a will be created and in that the value 10 is going to be stored and it is accessed here. So output is what? 10 is printed here, no problem. Now I am leaving this function. The function is completed. I am leaving the back to another location. The control go back out of the function. The control is going to exit from the function. Now this a will be destroyed. A will be destroyed. That means from where to where, what is the life of that a? Whenever I am entering into this function, it has been created. Whenever I am coming out of this function, this is destroyed. That means the lifetime of this a is entry of this function and exit of that function. Now what is the scope of that function? Scope means what? From where to where I can use that a. So from where to where I can use this a? So it is declared inside a function called as func1. It can be used only inside this func1 only. If I try to access this a outside of this function, then we are going to get the error. So you may think that, sir, you are using a here. So here a separate a is there. So I am using this a. I am not using this a. If I try to access this a here, as we have seen in previous examples, we are going to get what? An error. That means if local variables can be accessed only within that function. The scope of local variable is, the scope is what? Within that function only. Next, what is the lifetime of that variable, local variables? Entry, when we are going to enter into that function, the local variable is going to be created. Whenever we are going to come out of that function, the variable is going to be destroyed. So this is about local variables. Now let us see about global variables. So here some important points will be there about these global variables. So first I will explain about global variables here. So global, what is meant by global means it is available to all functions, or we can consider, let us take a equal to 10. Here I am going to write define function1 and here I am going to write print a, print of a, right? Define function2. Here I am going to write print of a. Now here I will write b equal to 10 and C equal to 20 and B equal to 30, for example. Now here I can print of B. Now observe one thing here. What is A here? A is a global variable because it has not written inside any function. So this A can be accessed entire function in entire function. So here if I print A, no problem, it will be printed. It will be printed here also. So it will be printed inside a function, inside this function, and also outside of the functions also. Next, what about B? B is declared inside a function 1. That means what? It is local to that function 1 only. So it has to be used inside this function 1 only. So here it will be executed. If I try this B here, let us try here print of B. Is there any B inside this function? No. So that this statement is, if we are using this statement, we are going to get an error. Okay. Next, what about this C? C is a local variable for function 2. So C can be accessed within this function only. If I try to use C outside of this one, let us consider here if I am going to write, what will be the output of that program? Here it leads to error. So name is C is not defined. It is going to give you an error that C is not defined. That means what? A variable declared outside of all the functions is called as what? Global variable. If I am going to declare any global variable, it is available for all the functions, or we can consider it as an entire program that global variable can be accessed. Okay, let us see the examples for this one. So just I will take same functions here. Just I am going to declare on global variable a equal to 10, and here I am going to take b equal to 20 I am going to take, and here C equal to 30 I am going to consider. Okay, I want to print A value in both the cases, and inside this I want to print what? I want to print B value. As it is a local variable, B can be used here, and next here I want to print C value. So C value can be printed here. So what is the names of functions? Function 2 and function 1. So now observe the outputs of this program. So 10, 30, 10, 20. What we have to observe first? First I am calling what? Function 2. So we are coming here. It is going to create a variable. Next print A. What is the A value here? Am I declared any local variable here? No. So then directly it accesses the global variable. So answer will be what here? 10. So 10 is printed. Next what happens? C is going to print. What is the C value? 30 is going to print it. Next function is completed. The control comes back to here. Next statement is what? Function 1. The call goes to here. B value is what? 20. The B value is going to be created. Print A. Is there any local variable here? Not there. So that it will go to global variable and it will take that value and stores in. It will print here. So 10 is going to printed here. See, 10 is going to printed here. Next, print B. What is the B value? 20. 20 is going to be printed. So this is the concept of global variable. Here in this case, for example, again here if I write A, what will be the output of this program? Let us see once. So if I write print A here, sorry, I'm going to take A value once again inside my function, and if I print A here, we are going to get output as 20 only, but not 10. Let us see. So what we are going to get? Output as 20 only. Just I will change that value to observe clearly. 120 I'm going to change. So which value I'm going to get? I'm going to get 120. When I call function 1, if I print A here, what happens? A equal to 10 is there globally. But locally, what I'm going to do? A equal to 120. Okay. So that means if the local variable and global variable are having same names, then the preference will be given to only local variable. So the answer is what here? The answer will be 120 will be printed here. So let us see if I print the A value here outside of everything here. Just I will print only A. I will remove these callings so that we will get only one output. So see what will be the answer? The answer will be, so sorry, just here I have, okay. So what is the answer here? 10 is going to be printed. How this 10 is going to be printed? Because A is declared here. So 10 is going to be printed because this A value can be used in entire program inside the functions or outside the functions also. So this is about global variables. Now, okay, in next session we are going to see some of the examples for these global variables, and let us see about the global keyword and global function also. Okay, thank you.